Par Luis. Im Heinenes Shadlov Chav, Bites Gesorvim. And so I'm going to continue in English. I want to say, first of all, that Marilyn and I are so pleased to be with you this morning. And this choir, when it sang about the wonderful grace of Jesus, took us back 60 years to our CE days here in Los Angeles. And it was one of our favorites. We sang it almost every time we met on Sunday evenings. Thank you very much, choir. Appreciate that. Christmas is a time for giving, as we all know. There are going to be many gifts. And during this season, we give and receive to friends and to family. Giving is an old institution. It didn't begin with Christmas. We know that in the Old Testament, there was a tithe that was collected, 10% of everything that you owned. And that tithe was collected in order to support the Levites, who were the ones that administered the church. And that's all that they did. They did not make a living. They took care of the tent of the tabernacle in the desert, and eventually the temple when it was built. And so we have the example in the Old Testament of tithing, of giving, this case for the purpose of maintaining the church, the temple of God. A very practical, very straightforward kind of giving. But there's more to God's idea of giving, and it is based on more than just practicality. It is based on love. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. And we are meeting today, and we are in this season of the birth of the Son, and we know that in the end of his life, it was given for us. So why do we give? We give to show our love and respect to others. That is the example set of giving by God, who sent his Son, Jesus, whose whole life was directed to the cross, where he gave his life, God's greatest gift to us. We sometimes do not fully understand how great this gift was to us. On the cross, he took on all man's sins, before and since. Think of how you feel when you may have said something to a friend or done something to a friend, and you realize you did the wrong thing. You have a sense of guilt. You have a sense of hurt. Now think of how that sense could be multiplied by every person in this room, collectively. And think what that hurt that you feel would be if it was the hurt of every human being that existed. When Jesus was on the cross, he took on the sins of all of us. And so that little hurt that you may feel when you did something wrong to a friend or a relative, multiplied to great sins that man commits in the past and in the future, all collectively gathered on one man who is God. That is the gift that he gave to us. He took it all on himself, to the point where, what did he say? My God, why have you forsaken me? There was so much sin in Christ at that moment on the cross that God abandoned him, because God cannot tolerate sin. That is the preeminent, that is the central, that is the belief that we have as Christians. And it is this Christmas time that Christ was born, that he might ultimately give us that gift of salvation if we believe in him. The ultimate gift that God gave to us. and that's why we should give also. Now, we also need to give so that we can extend the greatest good to the greatest number of our fellow Armenians and fellow human beings. There are many in need. The world is made up of people with a variety of gifts of one degree or another. Most everyone has intelligence, physical strength, initiative, capacity for hard work, and an organized mind. However, it is clear that these and other qualities are not allocated to us in equal amounts. Some have more or less of these and other qualities that make up our human characteristics. Because of these differences and because life is chancy, there are always those around us who need our help from time to time. You'll recall that the author of Ecclesiastes says that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to those with knowledge, but time and chance happen to them all. Therefore, we give because there are those around us who, at one time or another, are in need, sometimes in need of what money could buy. They are among us, and we must help them. For most, it is temporary. For some, it is a continuing fact of life. We who can are required to give so that all may have their basic needs of life. This has always been one of the tasks of the church. There are some in Armenia, and those we must help. There are many in Syria today whose suffering is beyond description. Their needs are very great, as they are now enduring cold without electricity or fuel, a collapsed economy, and a lawless society. May I ask you to give 3 gifts to our fellow Armenians in Syria? First, will you write letters or emails to them? Harut Salimian, Badbili Harut Salimian has been our main contact in Aleppo. If you'll call the AMA office, get his email address, send him an email, send letters to them. They have a feeling of isolation, a feeling in Syria today that no one understands or no one cares. And so emails and letters to our brothers in Syria today would be a gift that you could give during this Christmas time. Second, will you pray for them? There are challenges, and I know many of you here are aware of some of the specific things they're enduring there. Our churches continue, our schools are trying to stay open, but there's been some damage done, and there are, of course, people who have suffered. Their businesses are no longer viable. There are many things such as that, so please pray for them. And finally, send money if you can. The AMAA set out a year and a half ago to raise $500,000, $500,000. Because of the generosity of you and others in our churches, we have raised about $380,000 to date, and almost all of that has gone to Syria. So as you make out your gift list and give your gifts this Christmas, think about our brothers in Syria, and if you can make a contribution through the AMA, the funds will get to them and support them. Finally, let me say that we have a very exciting thing that is taking place in Yerevan that you're going to hear more about, and that is we have a senior high school, a beautiful building on 5 acres of land that's being constructed right now. It is the Avedishan High School. When it is completed and opened in September of this coming year, it will accommodate probably as many as 600 students. You may know that we currently have a school in Yerevan for grades kindergarten through 9. It is in the Bangladesh section of Yerevan, which I understand is among the poorest areas in Yerevan. These students come to school without paying tuition. Their tuition is supported by your gifts to the AMAA. And it is a school right now for about 250 students, and they are excellent students. They win national awards every year. It's either in language or in mathematics or some other subject. And it is because of the help that you and others here in the United States and throughout the world have been sending to them. Well, this school is going to move into a new facility, and there are going to be grades 10, 11, and 12 added. So there'll be school there in Yerevan for our students, kindergarten through 12th grade. And these students are not paying tuition. They will be able to get a first-class education and then go on to university through the efforts that we're making. So I encourage you to look into this project, and if you can help in some way, your prayers and your dollars would be significant for this effort. Finally, on behalf of the board of the Armenian Missionary Association, I want to thank you for the gifts that you and so many others in this neighborhood in Hollywood have given. And you and thousands of other Armenians around the world have made possible the relief, the food, the churches, the schools, the medical attention, and the spiritual message that is delivered every day by people who are working for Armenian Missionary Association, 21 countries throughout the world. So please continue to pray for the work of the AMAA in all of its manifestations throughout the world. We appreciate your support. It's wonderful to be with you this morning, and we wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous Happy New Year. Thank you.